You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Well, I'm not sure if it can get any bigger, but this is Sam, Mike and Don. Now, just for a start, Don Scott, we've had lots of inquiries. He's ill. In fact, I don't want to get into his personal life, but he's in hospital. That's probably getting into his personal life.
Not really. It's a fact.
He's in. Well, I didn't want to let that go in case he didn't want people to feel sympathetic to him. But he's in hospital, and we wish you well, Don. He's got pneumonia. I'm not sure what he's got, but he's not well.
You said he had equine influenza.
He's got bird flu or mad cow disease or something. But we got. Well, wait for this.
What about the bench?
Have we pulled someone off the? No, we've pulled someone off the bench. And let me just speak until I introduce you, please. First of all, Mike Sheahan, welcome.
Thank you,
He is
John.
the Mike of Sam and Mike. And this man here, I'm not sure if it gets any bigger, really. We can make it get bigger, but this is how big it gets. He played in a premiership for Richmond.
2.
I hadn't finished. He played in a premiership for Richmond, and then he played in another one. And then he came down to Geelong and he became vice-captain of Geelong under a very, very competent person down there who was number 17. That was me. Then he was the number 1 radio caller across the nation on a station called 3AW.
I've got it.
Hang on. For 20 years. He's had a fishing show. He's had Kerry Packer make him man of the moment at This Is Your Life.
Steve Price?
He's a fraction taller than Steve Price, but he worked under Steve Price, if you pardon the expression. And he's worked with some of the greats, Harry Beitzel, Bill Jacobs.
Come on.
Anyhow, and he has a fishing show and he's an expert fisherman. Beside him being completely mad, he is an expert fisherman and he is Rex Hunt. Rex, welcome to Sam, Mike and Don.
Well, thank you very much, and it's lovely to be here, and it's just unfortunate that I replaced Don, but I text him and I haven't got a text back, so let's hope that he's all right and he's given me the okay.
Are you all right?
Am I all right?
No,
I've just been down the Lorimer Street jetty, and the benthos is that good in the Yarra River at the moment. People think it's an upside-down river. The Maltese, before they go to work, and these are the real workers of Australia, are catching bream.
I withdraw the question.
And they're taking nourishment from the bivalve mollusks that are growing again on the pylon, Sam, and that is a great sign, particularly as the cloud will dissolve after this front goes through with the rain this afternoon.
Okay. So you look startled, Mick. I've put up with this for 20 years.
I worked with him for 15.
And
you didn't work. You wouldn't work in an iron lung.
Who is this man?
I used to be Rex Hunt.
So just hold your horses, Rex. We'll get into all this stuff. It's going to be brisk. Could we just start with the bleeding obvious? I don't want to say that I'm ahead of the curve.
Is this about Essendon?
This is about Essendon. This is going to turn out to be the most disgraceful thing that's ever happened in maybe world sport, but certainly Australian sport, where the AFL were complicit and compliant to a rogue drug agency who just wanted to get some publicity and get... they wanted to get the finance and all the money that they do to keep them going.
You're referring to Michael Warner's story in the Herald Sun today, are you not?
I'm referring... Well, if he wrote a story, I just heard it on the news that the AWADA, the World Drug Authority,
Anti-Doping Authority,
1 day before Essendon self-proclaimed that they were taking a substance, declared it a banned substance.
Yeah.
They are a disgrace. The AFL should be condemned, and Essendon. And as for that person that we had in here, a woman called...
Settle.
I'm just going to tell you, Caroline Wilson and I had a discussion about Essendon, and I said to her she was really unfair to James Hird, to everyone at that club. She shredded their integrity and their reputations with no evidence at all, and she kept saying... She said, this was my greatest work. I've worked on this for 3 years, having never interviewed Stephen Dank. And she has been just proved, like most of the other people in the compliant media, they are sycophants and they are a disgrace.
But they're entitled to their opinion.
Their opinion's wrong.
You taught me that an opinion is neither right nor wrong. The thing about it is, I want to say to you, Mike.
Yes, Rick.
Can James Hird recover from this, or is the stench of this, I'll agree with John, disgrace going to prevent him from doing what he was born to do, and that's to coach young kids in the highest level, because he has a smell about him because of incompetence. And now, will we ever see him?
Victimisation.
We saw him present a trophy at the grand final,
Is this a
and
question?
the response was quite good. Will he ever recover from this and return to the highest level doing what he was meant to do?
Every time this comes up, this topic, I say to Sam, I'm not sufficiently acquainted with all the information to have an informed view. But I must say, if Mickey Warner's story is right this morning, gee, it creates a real swing, in my opinion, about what actually happened in this case.
And why wouldn't Mick Warner's story be correct?
Well, Ali, I assume it is. But you can't have an international drug agency actually tailoring a description of a drug just to get a certain conclusion, can you?
Mick, I've said this, and
I know
I've
you
been
have.
chastised on the station I used to work for, or marginally still work for. They said, don't keep bringing it up. They are the most corrupt, it is the most corrupt, dishonest,
Well, I know you keep saying that,
disgraceful
but
organisation.
Huwada?
Of course, in this instance, to single out a little club at the bottom of a little country to
In a
make
piddly
big
little
name,
competition.
piddly little, dinky little competition to make heroes out of themselves with no, and I said this from day one, no evidence at all, just innuendo that Essendon had done anything wrong. They may well have done something wrong, but no one knew, and they still don't.
No, I think that's true. But why didn't Essendon of the day, why didn't they defend it? Why didn't they stand up and say that this is unfair, this is victimisation, and we're not going to cop it?
Because they declared themselves to the AFL and assumed, like anybody who goes before a court of law and pleads guilty, that they would get some sort of time
Equal justice
off their sentence by pleading guilty. And I reckon they were assured, if you come out with that, we'll look after you.
Pleading guilty to what?
To taking drugs.
Taking a banned substance.
But the substance wasn't banned because it wasn't
Rex.
banned until the night before
Rex.
they raided the joint.
I've said this for 5 years, Rex.
And Patrick Ryder is going to Moorabbin. And Patrick Ryder said at the time when he went to Port Adelaide that I'm not going to associate because my children and probably my children of the future could be affected by what I was fed at
That's
Windy.
right.
The people who are going to laugh are going to be overlooking the Sorrento ferry at Christmas, buying another holiday house, and that's a legal profession.
Anyhow, it is going to go grow another leg because people are going to realise that the AFL hitched their wagon to a WADA who are about as corrupt as you can get, and that is the best example. We had all these great athletes.
That, but let's take it forward from here. I mean, would this say, for argument's sake, if you were Joe Watson, would you initiate proceedings to have your Brownlow medal reinstated?
I said that when he was the day it was taken off him, I said this is just a joke. He has been accused. He has been found guilty of nothing, nor is that club. And it is a kangaroo. You cannot get a better kangaroo court. And all the great athletes and all the people up there who stand on high pedestals saying, "Oh, Essendon should have been really ripped a new one and taken to task and it's a disgrace," and they honestly should apologise. They should get on their knees and apologise for being absolutely dishonest, and they're just dishonest couriers, they are.
He was by far and above the best player in the competition that year, but you have one small problem, that even being introduced at functions around the nation now, Sam Mitchell and Trent Cotchin as the co-Brownlow medal winners on that year. You talk about a hornet's nest. This is bigger. I tell you what, I won't say it's bigger than that because I'll probably get sued, but I don't care.
What, bigger than what?
Well, no, I won't mention it. It might offend
You obviously
somebody. And
do
my
care.
wife said, don't offend anybody. I said, well, I'm not
Jeez,
going.
at your age.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so we've
Excuse me.
This honestly,
Yeah. Well,
if there's not a this is a bit like the state government. I see there's no action taken over the police who raided the government.
it's the red shirts, is it?
The red shirts who used campaign finance money to pay surrogates at the election booth, at the box office, if you like. and the absolutely corrupt and dishonest, and this state government gets off scot-free. This is that they could not stuff this state up better if they tried.
Michael, you were in journalism.
You're a Labor man. Go on, defend them.
I can't on this.
No, you couldn't on any of them.
Yeah,
That's
but I am
They're
fair.
disgrace.
I don't just take a stance because of the political party involved.
Well, nor do I.
But just you made a lifetime very successfully at journalism, and people didn't agree with it, and people brought up the pitiful excuse, "Oh, you didn't play league football." That's all crap. Why haven't the small paper particularly pursued the instigators like the Weapon and Dank and the rest of it? Why don't we hear from them? And yet Essendon copped the brunt. What's going on there?
You can answer.
Sorry.
No, you answer that,
I
Mick.
think I was talking to Mike.
I don't know the answer.
That's right. He just said he doesn't know the answer. So I'll tell you the answer.
Well, what's you doing with an Alf Brown award if you don't know the answer?
Because he doesn't make statements off the top of his head like you and I.
And I won 2, Rex. Like you. 2 premierships for you, 2 Elfs for me.
And
I only won 1 Alf Brown.
He's got a room named after him.
And then you put your small paper put me on the front page for 5 days, and I never got another award because it's offensive. Get on with it, Sam.
What were we on the front page of the paper for?
Oh, for some sort of
Philandering.
Just get on with it, will you?
Get on with it now.
Philandra is one of the best reverse swing bowlers I've ever seen. I watched him the other night in India, and he got Virat Kohli out LBW. They didn't review it, and he went on to make 297. So Philandra, he's as good a bowler as Bob Massey was when he got 16 wickets at Lords in 1896.
I'll take that on advisement,
What's
Rex.
going on here?
You cannot be serious.
Beautifully done,
Well
Jack.
done, Jack.
Leo O'Keefe.
Mick, I'll answer why he said, why haven't they got onto the Weapon or Dank?
Yeah.
Because they have no evidence at all that Dank or the Weapon or whoever you like did anything wrong. The supposition is that they did, but they have no evidence, and that's why it's a kangaroo court.
Just as we leave this, the one thing about that, Rex, in defence of the Fourth Estate, there were plenty of overtures to Dank and Robinson to speak. And
Why would they?
Well, they chose not to.
But do you know why? Because they had been found, they had been tried and found guilty before they even had a chance
They did a Jack Little when Killer Kowalski said, "Listen, you four-eyed lamppost," and Jack looked at the camera and said, "No comment." Now, how do you still paying any tax, you two?
No, just a minute. Just a minute on Dank.
Right, get on the tax,
unlike Caroline Wilson.
That's not Caroline Wilson.
Unlike Caroline
I can
Wilson,
be if you'd like, sweetheart.
who said she never interviewed Dank. I spoke to Dank several times, and I offered him, I've told you this, offered him my money, not Channel 9's, to come on.
And what did he say?
And if you're so innocent, Stephen, you come on and I will ask you the tough questions and you give me the answers.
What did he say?
Because he said he was not good. He said he was very tempted with the money I offered him, so he rang his solicitor, and his solicitor said while the case is ongoing, he shouldn't come on. And I said to him, why won't you come on and defend yourself? He said, because I have been accused and found guilty before I've even been interviewed. He was never interviewed by Awada before they found him, the Essendon and everyone, guilty. So he said, and this could be a convenient excuse, but that's why he said he would never come on or be interviewed. And so they have nothing on any of them.
Well, let's see it take its course.
Well,
shall we?
So now, all right.
Move on. Now we'll just take a short break. And for Nissan Patrol, yibbity yibbida, this is Sam, Mike, and whatever my name is.
I am Rex Hunter. You're not.
Whatever's in that coffee, Sam. I need another one. Jesus.
Mick, so do you play any credence, seeing as you started it off, to a man that I'm not sure if he's a friend of yours? Maybe he is.
Who?
Mark Robinson.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
Good. Do you take any credence of his top 50 in these things? We're AFL oriented here at the minute. Rex, do you have a top 50? Could you give us a top 10?
Oh, I don't even have a top 1.
Could you give us your top 10? Just off the top of your head.
Well, you can't do it off the top of your head.
All right.
I did that exercise for 30 years.
I think for purely the ability to create opportunities for people and can convert goals himself, that Dustin Martin, and a lot of people are saying, Basher was the best on ground. Dustin Martin would be the first bloke I'd pick because he can play in the midfield, he can play half forward, and the idea that someone wrote in the Herald Sun that he could play centre half forward, that's as sensible as Bartlett ending his career in the forward pocket.
How did you like my
all
answer
those
to
goals.
that? Huh?
But you've never played the game,
Very expansive answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, you've never played the game.
In defence of an answer you didn't give, Mick, you did say he was the best
Yes, I did.
purveyor. The best purveyor, is that a word?
Well, it is. That's someone who sells something.
No,
That's
what
right. It's
we
the
did
best purveyor of giving the ball out to people.
He's the most dynamic player in the competition.
He's-
If
what
you
he
could
said-
have one player
yeah.
play at his best, and you had a free selection, he'd be the bloke you'd take.
In language of 30
Okay.
years ago, Sam on 3AW is the best transporter of the air conveyance that I've seen. And that takes in a lot of good players.
Transporter.
Of the air conveyance.
I feel like I'm in a time warp here. what year is it?
I'll give Rex's opening call of the out at Waverley, my first gig in the
Don't
media.
denigrate.
And I'm not doing it.
No, because that denigrates Ron Barassi, and we shouldn't do that.
But Shagger denigrated himself.
We laugh with him.
Like
Ron
Dermot Brereton
used
has
to
been killed and Ron's down in the bloody box looking for his pen.
Yeah. Hey,
And who would be second
in the competition
on the list?
Probably Dangerfield.
No.
Probably.
No.
Oh, sorry.
No, I said
Ron
probably.
Blaskett over here. What is,
Well, if you want me to
Who
be
have you
Ron
got, Ron?
Blaskett, pull your pants down. I'll do the old Ron Blaskett with the fist up your back, mate. Don't worry about that.
Jeez.
What are you worried about, mate? Just get your solicitor.
Who's your number two?
I know. Yeah.
Nathan Fife is my number two because of all the injuries. And if he
Okay.
hadn't,
That's
so
what Nathan Fife will do.
Yeah.
Yours.
Jeremy Cameron.
Jeremy Cameron.
Yes.
Goodness.
No, we'll take issue with that. We
that's
are
fine.
agreed here as one that things are only an opinion and
That's
neither
correct.
right nor wrong.
That's what Rex just said.
Jeremy Cameron,
Yes.
I'm surprised at you.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well-
I think there's a fair case to say that he could come under the heading of flat track bully, Jeremy Cameron.
Okay, well, the flat track bully is a tall, athletic, lithe man who's a very nice kick and a very nice mark and playing in, you would say, a good side who got into a grand final but got absolutely belted. He's the Coleman medalist. There's a lot of good players playing that don't kick as many goals as he. And given the right opportunity by people getting the ball down to him in the right fashion with the right paradigm that side might set up for someone like him, I would have him.
Yeah, no, I'm with Rex.
Where
on
are
that. I think,
reputations made, Michael?
grand finals.
And finals.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Cameron is just a little short because
So is Lance Franklin.
no.
Lance Franklin is a great player.
Well,
He had some sensational finals for Hawthorn.
He had some sensational finals for Hawthorn when they were a sensational side. He has invariably gone missing in important
that's
finals
unfair
games.
on him.
No, it's not.
Well,
No,
I'm saying it is. He was their best player when they lost to the Doggies.
I said I mentioned this on the footy
They
show.
still lost,
and,
Michael.
Yeah.
No, he is.
Are you enjoying that?
Invariably goes missing in the important.
No, I don't
games.
agree with that. But on the
Well, I
question
don't
of Cameron and Fife, no, I'm totally with Rex on that Fife is a superior player to Cameron.
Before you move on, I've got two questions of general knowledge, and I think perhaps the listeners,
It's no good asking them
all
here.
12 or 15 of them, would actually appreciate knowing. Is that a flourless chocolate cake? And if it is, how do you make cake without flour?
You speaking to me?
Oh, no, I'm cross-eyed. I'm talking to Jacqueline.
Jacqueline.
Jacinta. Sorry, I was thinking of the girl at the restaurant
just
yesterday.
repeat that question again for me, Rex, would you?
Is that dark chocolate cake, which looks very rich, a flourless chocolate cake? And if it is, how do you make cake without flour?
Well, if I could
It's like making love without a partner.
Wow.
yes.
It's
Now
deep,
that
isn't it?
there is on the full moon because the crickets only come out at the full moon
you thought Don was
because the insects
different.
which they actually eat come out on the full moon. And driving back from Hamilton the other night on my own in my Rex Hunt Nissan Navara, I noticed there were no kangaroos on the side of the road for two reasons. There's no drought in Western Victoria and they're all on the edge of the mountain taking nourishment off the newly sprung tall fescue. And the other thing was it was a full moon and they don't come out like you used to, Sam, until midnight and be like a big horny cat over the top of the roof tiles.
Oh, well, let's answer the cake question then.
The other thing is, why did the commentator, when Virat Kohli...
Did you say I was a big horny cat?
Like a big horny cat.
Oh, I see.
But I don't do it anymore because they've taken away the swings and left the playground. In other words, I've been snipped. What was the question again? He said, this is the greatest innings in the subcontinent, including Tendulkar and Gavaskar. What does the subcontinent mean when Africa and South America and Australia are continents? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fair question, that.
Well, I only ask fair questions.
No, that is.
I'll ask another one. Why didn't you play league football?
Hang on, Rex. I'm just getting over the...
You sound like Rodney Rude.
Just getting over the horny cat on the tiles.
Give me some of that cake because whatever is in it, I'm going to have a kilo of it and take it home.
Why?
The subcontinent.
Why is Pakistan and India?
Because
why do they comprise the subcontinent?
I presume, Mick, I'm only just doing this off the top of my head.
You never presume anything.
There's 7 continents, and I presume that they're third world countries, and they don't put them in the classic category of proper continents.
So you're on your high tower looking down on peasants again. That's your problem.
Yeah, well, they're considered third world countries.
I'll tell you, I'll find the answer to that. I want to ask you a bit closer to home.
Could you name these 7 continents?
Yeah.
Off you go.
Not in continents. Could you name the 7
For my best fly fishing rod,
Hang on, I'm going to write these down.
Right, Australia.
Rex, you chip in too.
We'll just take your time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be talking while they're interrupting.
Antarctica.
Yep.
Europe.
Yes.
No.
No. Yes.
No, I don't think
Europe's
so.
Europe's not a continent.
I don't think so.
You don't?
I think Asia is one.
Europe's
Africa.
a continent.
Asia and Europe.
I don't think Europe is. I think it's broken up into. I don't think Europe is a continent. Well, I may well be wrong.
Oh no!
But while you Google it while
South
we're doing
America.
No.
North America.
North America. I think Africa is one. Antarctica. You said that.
Yeah.
Asia.
Is South America a continent?
Right, here they are. You want to know?
Yes, I do.
Oh, of course we do.
Asia, Africa, North America, South America. So I haven't missed yet.
No.
Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. So I got them all.
Europe.
Well, that's EUROPE.
Yeah. I didn't think Europe. I thought Europe was broken.
And you said you haven't missed
Asia.
one yet.
I didn't miss one.
Well, I tell you, someone who didn't miss you.
What?
Was your barber.
Why would I ever ask him what he means?
Mick, well done.
Well, you obviously don't own a mirror.
I'll stand corrected. I didn't think Europe was. I thought it was broken into different sections.
Now, I want to ask you something more relevant than this.
What's more relevant than to name the continents?
No, because we still haven't.
Are you incontinent?
We still. This is the most startling fact. Apart from the Essendon
let us
situation,
decide that. All right,
Sammy.
Rex. Sorry,
so you're a new boy on the block.
And I tell you what, this is the cameo, and I'll be able to go fishing because I'm making sure that you'll never invite me again.
No, well, I think you're on track at the minute.
Thank you. You know what? I'll set up my own podcast.
Okay.
Both of you blokes out of business.
You do a podcast.
Do I?
Well, I'm told you do.
Well, I spoke to Lindsay Fox the other day. When are you getting Lindsay in here?
The week
when we're going to talk about trucks, we'll get him in.
Yeah. Talk about
this
trucks.
Is the most
sorry.
Startling.
Thought I'll be here.
Shut up. Startling revelation. Essendon aside in the sporting context, more than 1 in 5 Victorians.
Yeah, Roger, you can do this all without drugs. It's fantastic.
Rex.
This is serious. More than 1 in 5 Victorians killed on the road this year were not wearing a seatbelt. How nonsensical, stupid and irresponsible can people be?
And I'll go one further.
1 in 5, 20%
and
don't have a belt on.
And do you know what people are doing?
What?
Because they don't. I heard this on the news. Because they don't want to wear belts, some of them are going down to car wreckers and they're cutting the seatbelt buckle off car wrecks, and when they get in their own car, they stick it in the slot so that the light or the buzzer doesn't keep coming on because they don't want to wear them.
What is
Could
wrong
you believe
with
that?
No.
It's
you know, Victoria
extraordinary.
introduced compulsory seatbelts to the world. Did you know that?
Oh, yes. We were so anal we did that.
And when you and I and this man over
Rex.
here
I used to be Rex.
were about 20,
Yeah.
the Herald Sun when it was a very, very, very good paper.
They declared war on 10:34.
Correct. And that which
And
means...
you know where the
Wait
first
a
sign
sec.
for that went?
Wait
Don't
a sec.
touch me. You've got some sort of flu, and I've had me jab, and I don't think I've been
I'm
jabbed.
putting
with
my
what
fingers on you,
what
not
you've
my tongue.
contracted when you've been with somebody. Go on,
There
get
was-
on with it.
The population was probably a third of what it is now. Don't laugh at him. And
I was wind. I was grinning. It was wind.
and we had 1,034 people die on the roads, and now we have 200 and something.
Yeah,
and yet these morons are now decided that they don't need to wear seatbelts.
And how many times have we discussed this, Mick? The more people that we have committing ridiculous acts like driving at 120 in a 60 zone on drugs or alcohol and killing people, do you know what the authorities do? The RTA and the police, and they advocate to bring the speed limit down and have more ridiculous road rules. It's not the rank and file who kill people, it's the morons.
It's all about revenue. I drove from Hamilton to my place on the bay on Saturday to see my horse run a very, very slow race, and then see another little thing that I've got an interest in win the main race. And between the central business district of Melbourne and Hamilton, first on the way up on the Hamilton Highway, second on the way down from the Western Highway, I did not see one police car. I saw 2 police cars at the Hamilton racetrack who were there just, not socialising but walking around. We did the same thing to the Cranbourne Cup, Lynn and I, on Sunday, and saw the coppers. We came out of both races and weren't breath tested, and people going past me on the Western Highway on a motorbike. One bloke went at 140. I flashed my lights hoping that I'd get the message to him. What did he do? What's when you go up on one wheel on the, what's that called?
Wheel stand.
Well, there you are.
Well
Mike
done.
seems to be really taken aback if I actually speak.
Not
Do you actually want me to continue on? Because I'm not comfortable, because I respect him. I'm serious. I respect him too much.
He was taking some advice.
I do.
Well, I asked the question about why people wouldn't wear seatbelts.
I just got to ask you one question. With the Foxtel interview that I did after you asked me for 6 months and I said yes, and it was open mic, and you've had some interesting open mics, gee, that could go either way, with Warwick Kappa, with Jackson, and an amazing one with Brian Lake. How much did you decide what you asked me for 25 minutes of that 30-minute interview, which was non-football related, or how much pressure did you get from the top office because this will rate and people love people getting in trouble?
The second part of the question, no pressure. I set the agenda for that interview program.
Do I take it, Rex, that you've taken umbrage at Mick's line of questioning?
No, I
that
haven't.
was?
I don't know what it means, but I'm pissed off.
You were you?
Well, I was, because I just thought, although I was a good ordinary footballer in Jack Dyer's description on 3KZ, and
you have a
my
raft.
200 games, my 2 premierships, and the best thing, look at me.
I'm listening to you.
Look at me. I know it's a shock. The best thing of all, my AFL Life membership, which I believe that some of my critics, and I won't give you the initials, who believe that they're scraping the bottom of the barrel because I was inducted as a Life member, and I sat there grand final day in the Life members area on the 50th anniversary of my first flag, sitting beside Graham Bond, very proud. And that's one of the problems that I've got between the years, because I still, as a kid, I still at 70 years of age feel as if I don't belong. And
No,
you
but
took me into the Foxtel studios and you spoke about all the crap for 20 minutes, and then you got onto football.
What did I say to you in advance? What sort of did I say to you would be the line of questioning?
Do I have to be sensitive with something, or can I just ask you what I want to ask? So you asked everything non-football for 21 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a story about how many goals a bloke kicked and how many marks he took. It's a story about their life. And actually, now that we're talking about life members,
you Google my life, it's a great life, isn't it?
And now that we're talking about life membership, Rex, and you can withdraw the implication. I am on that selection subcommittee that nominated you for life membership. Me, one of 3 people. And if I could say so myself, I probably drove it. So stick that up your fisherman's bum.
Right now, boys.
I
Well, I
just
don't
might.
No.
I might
No,
just
you
wind
won't.
this up here and
Rex,
now. I'm serious
No,
because I don't.
excuse
Because
me.
I know my wife is
Excuse
convincing
me.
me that this is a good person, and I
Excuse
don't want
me.
to. I don't want to hurt you. I wouldn't hurt you, and that's why
Rex.
when you talk to Lynn at the football, I don't come anywhere near you because I
Rex.
don't want to say something that I'm going to regret.
Rex.
Well, you've been sitting on this
Rex.
for a while.
Yes, now, Rex.
Yeah, and it's cost me.
Rex.
It's cost me dearly.
Excuse me, Rex.
My story.
Could you look at me for a minute?
Yeah.
Rex, could you look at me for a minute? Now, I asked you to come in here. He didn't bring up anything about your interview on open mic. You just brought it up then. We have no intention of getting into your personal life.
Well, I've been carrying it since then.
Okay, well, you've
Since
told
a small
him,
paper
Okay, well,
for
you've
5 days in a row was highlighting
Rex,
it, and I had to try and look
asked-
after my wife.
I asked you to come in here because you have a raft of experience in this city of in the media and as a football person, and I asked you to come in here particularly in light of the fact that an acquaintance of ours, Ricky Nixon, has suddenly fallen over mentally just last night, and on his Facebook page said he was going to follow Danny Frawley's suit. He was going to wind it up. You rang me. I think you rang him. You rang a whole lot of people, which I appreciated because he seemed to be in a bad way, and I was wondering why Ricky Nixon would think, because it's in the paper, we're not speaking out of turn or behind his back, it's in the paper today that he said he was thinking of following Danny Frawley's actions and winding it up because he'd had enough because he's broken up with his girlfriend. I thought, that's an extravagant way to get yourself on the front page of the paper.
No,
Well, that's why I asked you to come in here, because you've been in a reasonably dark place because you've admitted this and you've conceded this and you've had help. And I thought it would be appropriate for you to come in and talk about how you're going, Rex. Nothing to do with your life.
It was clear that Ricky Nixon had found peace and happiness with loving another human being. And that's the best thing if
Yes.
you want to move forward.
But he hasn't.
And the devastation is that he and the lady have parted ways.
Yes.
And then he publicly puts this. The only thing, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feeling, the only thing you don't do when you're going to follow through with it is make it public. And I can tell you that from experience. So just...
Well, just what?
So would you like me to leave?
Rex,
What
please.
do you wanna
Because
leave
I
for?
feel as if I've offended you.
But who
Offended me.
cares?
You've offended me 100 times over the years I've known you.
Well, get over it.
I offended him, and I offend you. Now, Rex, please. I know you wear your heart on your sleeve, but this is
That's
interesting.
my problem.
Well, that's good. That's why we're different. You say, I just can't believe Ricky Nixon would. I agree with you. If you're just going to spout all that stuff off because he's broken up with his girlfriend, it's traumatic. God knows, some of us have broken up with girlfriends many, many
No,
times.
for a while in your life, every 4 years, you found someone you hated and
Rex.
gave them half a house.
Yes, thank you, Rex.
It's got nothing to do with love.
No.
Love, they say in the movie, love means never having to say you're sorry. But you know what in love means. And we can't do this on a family program.
Oh, so is it in love?
Absolutely.
Yes, it's in
Absolutely.
right in
You
love.
tap
yes.
on the shoulder, said, are you in
Yes.
love?
What is this thing called? Right, thank you, Rex.
I'm glad you've recovered.
I'm going to say he's lightened up all of a sudden.
Well, I recovered because you said,
No, you've said what you want to say to him, so
I've
that's
always
fine.
respected him. I knew when he was
You just said you
a
didn't
very
respect
good
him.
player in the VFA. But I just...
That's
I've
totally irrelevant.
been holding that
Totally
back when I
irrelevant.
went in and I had
Well,
to
I
try
can't
and
understand.
justify myself for the darkest time of my
No,
life.
no.
And you know whose fault it was? Mine.
Rex, if I was interviewing you, if I was doing Open Sam, I would ask you about that part of your life.
I know, but before the
people-
Herald Sun
but-
gave you the flick, you used to do the
Herald Sun didn't
head-to-head.
give me the flick.
And Grumpy Bill Jacobs got on and said, you're not going to do one of your head jobs on me, Sam.
Bill, Rex.
And that's what Jacob said.
The Herald Sun didn't give me the flick at all. They were very delighted with me and wished I'd continued. That's when I started my career on Channel 9, so I'm happy for you to say I got the flick, but I didn't. So when I was doing those interviews, Mick would know, and you would know as well, Rex, that
Yes, John.
you ask questions that you think the public want to know the answer
Absolutely.
to. The salacious stuff about a person's life is what intrigues people because you're a celebrity.
And I can remember the first question you asked all but one of your subjects. are you on drugs?
Is that a question?
No, that's.
Oh,
I can
sorry.
remember the first question in the small paper. Are you on drugs? And I just thought that was a bit tough on Dawn Fraser.
Jesus. So, and what a...
I tell you what, you want to get onto this medication, Mick, I tell you what.
No, Ricky,
you
I
want to have blackbirds flying at your backside. You want to have blackbirds flying at your backside, mate, you'll have pelicans coming out 3 at a time.
Could I seriously ask you a question? As we speak, Rex, are you
Centre's gone...
As we speak,
gone
Rex,
white.
As we speak, Rex, you're listening?
Yes, John.
Are you on medication as we speak? Are you taking something to keep your over-enthusiasm in check?
Obviously, that's not working, but I'm taking other medication.
I'm asking, this is a serious question.
But without the medication...
What medication are you taking, Rex?
I'm taking a...
Because you've been in a reasonably dark place.
It's not a drug. It's a salt called lithium, which is a mood stabiliser. The antidepressants do not
get
work
another box of it,
because a couple of them didn't allow me to urinate properly, and I was within a couple of minutes of going to Epworth and relieving the bladder via the insertion of a catheter.
Yes.
And I tried 5 weeks ago what's called TMS. It's transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is an introduction of a magnetic pulse into the right-hand side of your brain, which is what affects the depression.
Okay.
The other side of the brain. And after 5 weeks, the professor has said to me I'm to take a break. But 5 weeks ago, I had every right within myself to go to bed. And now this afternoon, I'm checking how much rain there is, because the Tarago River at Labatouche will be up a metre, and the trout will be aware the platypus have come out of the burrows and feeding on the small yabbies. And when the platypus can't absorb the full yabby and there's half a tail left, the big brown trout will take half a tail of yabby, and on Friday morning they'll run into the bearded fishermen and wish they'd never taken half a yabby 4 miles upstream of Labatouche towards New G.
So you're still taking the medication, are you, hopefully?
I don't know.
No, I've got a feeling you've run out of it.
Yeah.
I'd go and get some more
And on the
shortly.
serious note...
No, I want to ask you a
the
serious
worst
note.
thing you can do, and this is a message to anyone listening, which I hope they're listening, you never ever stop your medication.
Their radio
do you
like
have a headache?
What?
Do you have a headache at the moment? So if I offered you a Disprin, you'd say, what would I want that for? That is the message. You take the medication whether you feel good or not. And that's where Danny Frawley came undone.
Yes.
And Danny Frawley, who I used to see on a regular basis, and my dog Jack, who replaced Mister, and you said, oh, gee, fancy crying over a flea-bitten Labrador. We've got a golden retriever.
I never said that, Rex.
What did you say?
I said
You love that dog. You want to seek advice about that. You did say that on 3AW. So Jack,
that was theatre,
when
Rex.
Danny rode his bike from the clock tower down to Hayden's Road, my boy, he'd take his nose off the foxes and rabbits that the council have spent $4 million trying to get rid of, and he'd see Danny coming towards me. And Danny said a month before that horrible day at Millbrook Lakes, which, you know, is where I take my people fly fishing, and the tree, of which they call the suicide tree, is up on the Millbrook Road. He said he was fine, he was feeling fantastic, and then Anita gets up and announces that he'd stopped his medication 8 months ago, and that is fatal. So what I'm saying to you, Michael and John, is if I offered you a Disprin or a Panadol now, say, what do I want that for? That's the message I'm saying, is that this morning I had my lithium, this morning I had my antidepressant, and that's what you've got to do every day of your life.
Okay, so Rex... So you're taking this antidepressant or this lithium now, and you take it every day because
twice a day.
Some time ago you did you suffer, were you depressed or did you have depression because you were checked into a facility? You've told, this is public knowledge. Why did that overcome you? What overcame you that sent you into a dark place?
I left my 3AW position at midnight, the night of the preliminary final last year.
It's 2018.
I felt so bad and so inferior.
Why?
Because I felt so bad, but I got red light fever, as you know. It's like white line fever. When the microphone goes on, that's what I do. And people say, oh, I was an idiot. But I've been retired 11 years and these people are still out of work. So the serious thing about it is I drove all night and I end up ringing you at 10 to 5.
Yes.
I put in a phone call to Eddie.
Yes.
Fortunately, to cut a long story short, the police were able to, although my phone was switched off...
Yes, they can track you.
On hotspot.
Yep.
I was wrapped up in a tarpaulin-like straitjacket, transported to the Wonthaggi Hospital, and I'm only being told this because I can't remember it.
Yes.
I can remember the 4 boys of African appearance at Turadin asking me what I had in the back of the truck, and I can remember I went to the back of the truck and just pulled out something that might sort of have been camouflaged as a baseball bat, and I just said, which one of you wants to go first? They said, you're mad, and I can remember that. But I can remember waking up in the Wonthaggi casualty ward, and James McLeod, the managing director of Tobin Brothers, was there, and Stephen Beers, the managing director of 3RW, was there. And I'll never, ever forget that. And I spent 10 days and nights in the maximum security psychiatric unit at Traralgon, where on a regular basis, I'm saying a regular basis, I would see a stretcher come in and a body go out with the feet hanging out the back with a sheet over it of young people who had died from drug-related depression.
Yes.
And I rang my GP and I said, you got to get me out of here. And Lynn came down with her sister and I said, you just got to get me out of here. And that was the start of it.
So should you keep taking the medication, Rex, you would be the perfect person because you're sitting here in front of us. You haven't done anything more drastic than tell that story and be part of that. You would be a perfect person to go around and speak at various functions about depression, because I want to know why a man, and there's plenty of people we know that have everything and seem to have everything, why at midnight on 3AW on preliminary final night, or whenever you said it was, why did you suddenly feel that you were worthless? What made you feel that?
Because I had because I had an open line caller who I firmly believe gave a false name and said that he was in a very, very dark place, and he wanted to thank me and 3RW for the great company, going back to the Bruce and Phil days and that sort of thing. But my life is worthless, and that's what set me off, because I didn't know where the call came from, and I felt that with my bank balance, my assets, and my position as a fishing commentator and a radio man, that I had everything. And yet I had nothing.
Okay.
That's what set me off, if you must know. And if that helps some people, well, so be it.
Well, I'm sure that does help some people. It puts it in perspective, Mick, a little, doesn't it?
It does. But Rex, what you're saying is the depression, classical depression, has got nothing to do with what your assets are or what your job is.
But so many people judge you on the type of car you drive, the type of house you live in, and what you order. Where I'm having just a humble, McDonald's burger, he's up the local restaurant ordering an entree of hummingbird tongues and aspect jelly, followed by the crumb quail with a koala sauce.
Surely you wouldn't care about that. I mean,
how do you know what I care about?
So he's asking you.
Why are you so aggressive this morning?
Because I don't like you.
You do.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not.
No, so, Rex.
Well, you wouldn't want to be, because there would be a bloke leaving and it'd be me.
No, what's wrong with you girls?
I'll leave.
Please,
I'll save you.
Boys.
Hey, I'm not doing a job for nothing here, talking to a bloke who says he doesn't like
And do you think I'm not doing it for nothing?
Mick.
You think I'm not doing it? What are you checking your phone for?
Don't like me. I
always like you. Your behaviour sometimes irritates me.
That's it. Yeah. Well, you're here, and you are both irritating me at the minute.
Well, what's he looking at his phone for?
Both of you.
Well, I mean, but
Rex, so you say you suffer from an inferiority complex?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I went back to school because of all the smart people who were better footballers, better cricketers, and better businessmen.
You know that's bullshit.
That is bullshit.
You're actually telling me that, are you?
Yeah, I am telling you that.
Yeah, good.
Go on, have another go at him.
You've played 200
2
games.
years in year 9 and running the boundary for Parkdale under 16s because I couldn't get a game is not an inferiority complex.
No, it's not.
Well, not if you played in 2 premierships for Richmond.
And 200 games.
And the doyen of radio. What is wrong with you, man?
I don't know.
You've got the world at your feet.
Ask my professor this afternoon.
Holy mackerel.
Listen.
Yes.
We've got.
Go ahead, Mick.
Right. I want to ask you about the brawl outside the Hilton Hotel after one of the finals. Two sons of a prominent barrister. Now, that's not his fault.
No, of course it's not.
But he happens to be a prominent barrister, and one of their mates literally kicked the shit out of a couple of other blokes.
Yep.
And by what we read, it would indicate
One
that
set
the
of rules.
system is going to help these boys because of who they are. Xavier College students, sons of a prominent barrister.
One set of rules for some, one
It would
set for
seem
another.
to be the case,
Yes,
wouldn't it?
It would seem. In your point,
Now, I don't. Well, the question is, and this is directed at you, Rex. They, according to what we read, have both got a drug and or alcohol dependency and have been institutionalised for a period. Should we then look at that differently? Do we just look at the case and sort of say these kids committed a heinous crime and they should go to jail, or do we make allowances for notionally what their circumstances are?
Do you mean as an excuse or a reason for their behaviour?
Yes. Yeah.
No, not at all, because you must be, despite who you are and what you take, be responsible for your own behaviour.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think it all went out the door a few years ago when a Sydney judge sent a bloke to life imprisonment without parole. And if you remember, on the Current Affair, he looked down, he said, and life means life. To my mind, I'm not a person of the Bible, but I believe in the Bible. It said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And for people to get 18 or 14 or 12 years for murder is a disgrace. We've got to start, I spent 100 hours of community service because I should have, when the bike rider head-butted me through the window, just said, have a nice day. But I decided to just ask him why he would do that. And I ended up at the Paran Mission, serving mainly...
Not aspect jelly and butterfly wings there, Vic.
No,
Be pies.
Bully beef and mashed potato.
That's it.
With a small cockroach sauce. And I can tell you now, I was cleaning toilets, I was mopping, and you know why I did it? Because that's
you
what the
have to.
magistrate said.
Yes.
And I did the crime and I did the time, and yet they're seeing these blokes, they shouldn't be made an example of. They should be put alongside every person in Australia. This is the law. Life means life.
Yes.
10 years means 10 years. And $10,000 and 500 hours of community service means that. And I can remember when I used to be a copper, Bob Smith, the SM at St Kilda, said, when you get out of the jug, tell your mates this town's under new management. And as a sergeant in charge of St Kilda, we ran the town, not the Crims.
Well, Sammy, let me just read to you.
Pull you up on one statement you made, that if you murder someone, there's a lot of different reasons why people commit murder. If they're premeditated and heinous crimes, certainly a life sentence means a life sentence, but a lot of people murder people for a whole lot of different
domestic
reasons.
situations.
We're talking about
not
a
so much
specific
domestic,
situation.
yes,
yeah?
here we
this
are.
is what happened after a final. We've all been in that situation,
Yes.
going home after a game at the MCG. This is allegedly what one of the those charged said. Quote, I'm going to fucking kill you. You're going to be dead, before stomping on the man's head 3 times, leaving him unconscious on the road with bleeding on the brain and a string of facial fractures.
So,
If that's not a major crime...
No, that is a mate. But the defence would say that he's not in charge of his faculties. He's not capable of making decisions because he's drug or alcohol impaired, which is
self-induced in the alcohol.
Mick, please, I'm not defending them. I'm just saying. Then you'll have the psychiatrists and the analysts come and say he's not quite capable of standing for trial on his merits because he was impaired, and this is how the system gets weakened and diluted because people, as Rex rightly said, I think the only thing he said correct so far since we've started is that you've got, it's a joke, Rex, you've got to be responsible at some stage for your own actions. You can blame and you can criticise and you can bring all those with you, but eventually, if it is to be, as Ron Barassi says,
it is up to me.
But it's appearances, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Michael.
I'm big on this issue. I mean, it's appearances. The magistrate has said, let's not send this to the county court where the penalties are higher, the range of penalties is higher. Let's deal with it in the magistrate's court.
Mick,
That's incompetence.
it's not incompetence. It's
what, who you are?
It's That's right. It's disingenuous. It is. It's a bit like the red shirts. I know that's a white collar crime. It's a bit like the red shirts. That's a blatant crime that they've let go. And Jack Aston, the man, unfortunately, who drove the bus under the bridge and didn't kill anyone, but could have got 5 years.
Yep.
They've let him out now. How would you get 5 years for doing that when you actually didn't kill anyone?
I know what's the more serious
because
crime
of the incompetence of the man not checking up how high his bus was.
Of course, Rex.
And that's what the law is about. And I feel absolute joy that he's out. But what if the people up the top have lost their heads?
But they didn't, Rex.
But hey, it's like to say, he was king hit, but he didn't end up like David Hooks. That's the problem. Because when I was a copper, if I said to Mike Sheahan, I'll knock your block off, under the Crimes Act, that was an assault. And it's the same as that, I'm going to cut your throat, I'm going to do that. That to me is...
I agree. I just said Jack Aston, who accidentally, I know he was ignorant of the fact that he shouldn't have driven the bus under there.
Ignorance is not an accident. An accident is when you don't mean anything and you've taken and he must actually take responsibility.
If he did to take responsibility, he got 5 years jail. When you consider what is going on in our land, when you consider what's going on, that was extraordinary.
Anyhow, that breeds Michael down there in South Melbourne. I heard on 3RW this morning, am I allowed to mention my station? That there is a bridge in North Melbourne that has taken... and Jacinta's nodding, that has taken now a more toll
Do you know why?
on incompetence than what poor Jack did.
Do you know why? Because on one sign, there's several signs that say it's a 4.1 metre clearance.
And it's 4 metres.
And it's 4 metres. These are the people running the town that you live in.
From the Ivory Towers, I think they turned it,
These are the people running the city that you live in. In fact, these are the people running the Central Business District who will allow climate protesters every week to disrupt the lives of people in the city.
Working people who pay tax, and the government give that tax to the people who proudly say they're on the dole. I tell you what, under Robert Menzies and Hawke and Howard, that wouldn't have happened then because they had the balls to stand up to him.
I know you've got to go, Mick.
Not for anything that's been said. I just need to go.
I know. No, Dad.
Well, it's second on the left and it's M for men.
No,
well, and you don't sit down to urinate, do you?
I can't understand what you're on.
Hey,
well, see me outside, mate, and I'll sell you a kilo.
Well, hang on.
I'm serious.
Well, I'm serious too. If you don't want to,
this
is the last time I'm going to be here, so you don't have to worry about me.
Listen
to
me.
I just can't understand it.
Well, that's good. Don't try. I can't understand myself.
Hello. Listen to me. You just said it's there with M on it. Now, here's a thing that you'll be interested in, that Air Canada, you think
not Aer Lingus.
Air Canada, who that country is run by the greatest fraud of all time, Justin Trudeau, who painted his face black 3 times and still is in power.
Should have been on the footy show.
No, he was taking off Nicky Winmar in the Northern Hemisphere.
And this is, in America, if you paint your face black and you're a certain political persuasion, they will rip you a new one. But Justin Trudeau in Air Canada now has demanded that when you get on the plane, they don't say ladies and gentlemen, they say everyone, because that is inclusive of every alphabetical...
Absolutely. It's males, females and convertibles.
Getting madder by the week.
Alphabet gender.
Did you see Guess Who's Coming for Dinner, Sam?
I'm going.
Did you?
Well, hang on, I'm going to wish you well. Just
Sam, did you see Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier?
Yes.
If Sidney Poitier had painted his face white back then, would they have taken the same offence as what...
No.
There you are.
No, but
that's why the world's absolutely
the
juicy-fruited.
No.
Well, what's the answer, Michael?
Well, the answer is, I mean, if people...
Offending minorities.
Yes.
But to impersonate someone,
That's
Michael, look at me. You won't have to put up with me again, and I don't apologise because I had to get it off. I feel better. Is why if you impersonate a person with, be it black, white, pink or yellow, why does painting your face the colour of that human being offensive?
Because as Sam said, it's seen to be
taking the
exploitation of a minority group.
Yes. So, So I'm going to say this
Say
now.
goodbye to me.
No, I am going to say, Rex.
Forever.
I want you, whether you make it up or not, just see if you can do a bit of theatre. I want you to say something you admire about this man on leaving, because he has been a very successful person.
He doesn't need to say what he admires about me.
Shut up. I want him to see if he can, off the top of, and then I want you to say the same, and then we'll depart all friends, because I'm going to speak to him for a fraction longer when you go.
And I don't want you to get any ideas that I like you, but I admire for so many years, and you deserve the chief football writer of the small paper, because you've done the hard yards and you wrote what you think. I'm like John William Noel Newman. I speak what I think, and people get offended. And that's why we're retired. However, I think that you, like me, have to work hard on understanding that not everyone will like you. And to like yourself, and that's what I'm working on, because you can please some of the people some of the time. But I can tell you now, since Kevin Hogan and Little Sport were retired from your paper, I used to start from the back page and work towards the death column. I'd have a look to see I wasn't in the death column, which you still know even today. People die in alphabetical order. So I go back to the Mike Sheehan column like I do to the Robinson column. I don't think Robinson likes me, but I don't care. But he's the first one I read, because I know that you had a say, a major say, in who took your position when you retired. So stick that in your bonnet and smoke it, and I won't bother you again.
So that's damned with faint praise.
That's right.
I got Mark Robinson's job.
Best backhanded compliment
He earned it. He earned it. But you, like me, when you retired or are retired, like I was retired from 3AW, I couldn't wish of a better replacement than replace me at 3AW, the wonderful BT.
I don't think he means that.
So Mick, no. Did you mean that, Rex?
No, but
I'm a very sincere person, as you said to me once, about as sincere as Elizabeth Taylor saying ouch on her 7th wedding night.
So Mick,
I've got a feeling I've heard that one.
So say something nice about me, for God's sake, just to make me feel good, because I'm about to take some of the pills Rex is on.
No, this is
it's fantastic.
Unbalanced. Not him.
He's unbalanced. He's as unbalanced
as
a
discussion. I have, despite what he says, and what I would like him to do is be as honest on this program as he is when he talks to me, when he rings me. When he says, Michael, Rex Hunt here, you're a dear friend of ours, blah, 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 blah.
But this is...
Why he would say that ad infinitum.
I wouldn't say it unless I was married to Lynn, because she said, be nice to Michael, so I've got to blow wind up your ass.
Well, you should have been brave enough to just...
Excuse me, Rex.
Well, I wasn't brave enough because I was in a dark place.
Yeah, but you can still be brave enough to tell someone what you think.
You're a bit like Timmy Tobin, who's now the chief football caller at 3AW. Timmy Lane publicly said on the public broadcast, I would never work for an organisation like that, and now he's there at 3AW.
Well, how does that make him like me?
Oh, no, you're not in the same league as Timmy, but yeah. And I tell you what, who won't bury Smooth Booth? He's still angry at me.
So, Mick...
I don't quite know where to go from there.
No, of course.
So I think I'll take my leave and go and see my doctor.
You're going to see...
It might be for a different condition.
I was going to say, I'm the only one not on the medication at the minute. In fact, it won't be long before I am.
No.
So, Mick, it's been good, hasn't it?
It's been different, yeah.
So you haven't taken offence at anything he said?
No, me take offence? I never do.
Well, you wait till I start on you.
No, you don't.
I could if I wanted to.
Well, no, I'm not going to get into that.
Well, you go say, what would I say about you? No. I'd make it up, Mick. That's what but those people out there...
Anyway, there'll be a lot of people will be pleased to hear from this man
Rex, who
was so
Rex.
big.
Well, I know you did say before signal you have to go. I'm going to continue for another 5 minutes.
I look forward to it.
What, you won't be here.
Oh, no, I won't be.
But you can get it on Podbean
and I'll be doing
iTunes.
that as soon as it's up or down, whatever the expression is for these things.
All right, well, say goodbye.
Goodbye, Rex.
Lovely to see you, Michael.
I'm just commentating now. They shook hands, and I think there was a small embrace. Was there a grin on your face as you shook, Mick?
To quote you, Sam, it was wind.
Righto. Well, now, Rex, I want to speak to you just about a couple of other things. Nothing to do with anything that's going on in your personal life, but seeing as you would be Don would be there. I noticed. I notice. I know you're...
Mike, can you clean your teeth next time? Because, gee, whatever you had for dinner last night, mate, I didn't like it. Off you go.
I notice you're a dog lover.
Yeah.
And Mick, he would be part of this. I notice in... I know
You're managing
too.
Michael Sheahan, are you?
No, he's parking at my place.
He's parking at your place. Well, there you are.
Okay.
David parking.
We will
Catherine
look, we
Fergus.
just. I know this is not good if you're listening on the podcast. There's two people vacating the premises. I'm saying I'll speak to you later, you two boys. Now, Rex, please. There's Chapel Street have brought in a law that you can take dogs into any premises, any shop at all. You know, and if it has a dog paw, a picture of a dog paw on the window, you can take the dog in. My question is, seeing as I have a shop in Chapel Street, if I didn't want dogs to come into my shop and I didn't have the paw on it and someone walked in with the dog, then you would be confronted with a bit of a confrontation. You'd say, would you mind taking the dog out? And they would say, we're allowed to bring dogs into the street. The council have made a decision. You can bring dogs into shops. And I would say, only the ones with paws on them. Oh, well, you haven't got a... That's how. Why would you be allowed to bring dogs into any shop in Chapel Street or any shop?
I can't answer that because as a dog lover, I feel it is offensive to people who are not comfortable with dogs.
In restaurants?
No.
Sitting under your feet, smelling your ass and that.
The fact that Bruno and Jack are inside dogs with us, and Jacinta has seen photos of them both, particularly when Lynn hasn't been well, and they're wonderful company. But I also understand that, you know, people like Mike Sheahan, you know, who clearly don't like me, I've made a small fortune out of people not like. I'm not going to lose any sleep about it, but I respect the fact that these people are so dumb that a dress shop in Chapel Street could restrict their foot traffic by people that don't want to go in there and have some dog in there.
But that's my point, Rex. The council have taken it on themselves to say dogs are welcome in every shop unless you don't have a paw sign on it.
That's irresponsible.
It
and
is.
I tell you what, I would ask for a reduction in my rates.
Lots of luck with that. And here's my other thing. And now the councils are now allowing bike riders to ride on the footpath. It used to be if you're under 12 or you're an elderly person, you could ride your bike on. Now it's carte blanche. You can ride your bikes on the footpath. Where's that headed? Why would they be doing that?
It's headed for tragedy because if a toddler races away from a lady wheeling a pram and the toddler goes under, then rules made for people from high places who have no consequences for their actions.
That's right.
And the thing about it is, down along the track from where you used to live down to Mordialloc, there is a bike track.
Yep.
But it's also shared by pedestrians.
Yep.
The real fair income people will ding you.
That's right. And
say, I'm coming, and that's fine. And then somebody who is impersonating, will your listening audience know who Russell Mockridge was?
Yeah, well, they won't, but he was
and
an
Sid
Olympic.
Patterson.
They were Olympic bike riders.
They were the modern day
Lance Armstrongs, except they didn't take drugs.
Absolutely. And they're in their Lycra, which is okay. They've got the bicycle seat that far up their buttocks that their shoulder blades has got a bump, and they come past at 45 kilometres an hour. It says, excuse me, where's your bell? And you get the one finger salute without Vass.
Yes,
and I tell you what, so I take them on, and the coppers come up and warn me about my threatening attitude because they are...
So there we are. So we have councils making decisions, arbitrary decisions on behalf of the ratepayers where they have no responsibility for the ramifications of the decisions they make. This is why I started a campaign to get the skateboarders not jumping over all the infrastructure down where I live, not because I don't like skateboarders, far from it. On the contrary, I like skateboarders, but boards were shooting out from under their feet, skittling dogs, going close to kids in prams. That's why I did that. And everyone said, oh, you're a grouch and you're an old dinosaur not liking skateboards. And yet we had the 80,000 people who live in those apartments, or 10,000 people who live in them, came and said, congratulations, well done, Sam. I said, well, how about coming down and giving us a hand? So they haven't been back, the skateboarders. That is like red rag to a bull. As soon as I say that, they'll be back. But it wasn't because I don't like skateboarders, because they're dangerous.
I could ask you 2 or 3 questions.
Well, go ahead.
Number 1, why am I concerned that Mike Sheahan has left now, that he was generally offended by me telling him, why did you spend 25 minutes on an open mic thing about that other business?
Rex. Mick Sheahan did signal before this started. He said, I have to go. He has a doctor's appointment. I'm suggesting to you, Rex, if I was interviewing you, I would have asked you about a whole lot of things and probably would have broached that subject.
That's all right.
No, hang on.
Broach it. Don't make it the subject of the whole broadcast.
Just a minute, Rex. I'm not defending him at all. But I'm suggesting that when he asked you a question about that part of your life, you went on with a long answer, and that prompted another question and it probably just elongated because of the answers you gave, rather than you saying, now look, this was a part of my life which I'm just not putting words in your mouth. Part of my life I'm not actually that proud of. Lynn and I have
actually that proud of. It is the darkest time because I've tried to rebuild the bridge, which I've done with the most important person in my life.
So, Rex, I've said this many times before. It's not the questions you're asked; it's the answers you give.
Okay.
So, if
I
he'd
talk
asked
too
you,
much, do I?
Well, if he'd asked you and said, now, Rex, what about that part of your life? You say, hey, listen, let me tell you this, Mike. This is a thing I'm not proud of. Liv and I get on very well. Our relationship is fantastic. I made an error.
Never been better.
Now, hang on. So,
well, you wouldn't know about it, but it's never been better.
I'm just telling you how you could have answered that question.
Yeah,
so whether he said,
shoulda, woulda.
So then he might have said, well, tell me this. He said, now, just a minute, Mick. You've asked me that. That's all I'd like to say about that matter. That's up to you.
Yeah, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. Let me ask you.
Yes, thank you.
When I was a copper and I learnt the law, particularly the Traffic Act or whatever it was called, there was a law that unless you are overtaking, you drive in the left-hand lane.
Yes.
Now, Beach Road in front of your joint where you used to live is a very good example. There is a clear way there in the morning. There's a clear way on the other side in the evening. And there is a line of traffic, 5 kilometres long, single lane in the right-hand lane. Is there still a law to keep to the left unless you are overtaking?
There's not a law, but it is advised, but not on Beach Road, because you can't stay in the left lane because the bike riders accommodate that lane. And the only law that they should have when it's a clear way is that trucks shouldn't be allowed to drive in the right-hand lane, like they don't allow it down in the Geelong freeway to Melbourne. Trucks are not allowed to drive in the right-hand side because I've said this plenty of times before, and I get a nice stick taken to me, but the most ignorant, unconcerned people on the road are truck drivers. They drive trucks as though they're driving sedans. They weave in and out of the traffic. They hog any lane that they want to.
They drive a metre from your rear bumper bar.
That's what I said. They are, and why the police? Every major accident, with very few exceptions, are caused by trucks. And why the police?
I think it's a bit over the top.
No,
I reckon people bloody higher than Joe Cocker and as pissed as a jam tart might have some responsibility. The other road question is, before you continue on and wind this up.
We're winding it up shortly.
Okay,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
When you approach a roundabout down near Fisherman's Bend there, or down at Morty Alec, just around the corner from the pier, when you approach a roundabout and you've got a person on your right in the roundabout, they have the right of way.
Yes.
But do you have to give right of way to a bloke 50 metres who accelerates? I thought the old law was you give way to the first person on the roundabout. And I spent 15 minutes the other night, and admittedly it was school traffic, and I love the kids and grandparents picking up the kids, but the bloke in front of me just let every kilometre of traffic through on the right-hand side. Is that right or wrong?
It is wrong because they're dumbasses, Rex. They're just
I'm not
dumbasses. No, you're not Mick.
I'm worried about Mick.
Why are you worried about
Because
Mick? That's the trouble. You worry too much.
Even though my mouth is big, I don't like offending people.
You did a great job with offending him, and that's
But
fine.
I'm just saying now that if I haven't offended you today, I can't because I'm not back on here.
No,
but tune into 3RW next year, and I will offend you.
And
you know what? They'll still listen, and Stephen Beers will come up and say, look at the turn on at 11 o'clock. I said, I wish I could be turned on as much as that.
Right, finally, Rex, I notice... Oh, Jesus Christ. Finally, Rex, I notice Sydney are making an all-out effort to take the premier racing calendar away from Melbourne with the Everest Cup and all that. They will never... this is a statement I'm making. You're a great racing man. They will never take the Melbourne Cup, the magnificence of that carnival and spectacle on Tuesday. I know they want to take it now, change the date. The first Tuesday of every November, I think it is, the Melbourne Cup is a world-renowned race, and they can throw as much money as they like up in Sydney. They'll never surpass that for an excellent race carnival.
The Melbourne Cup is the most gruelling test of thoroughbred horses, and that's why so many of the runners on Tuesday in November will come from the Northern Hemisphere. It is a handicap race. There is a horse this year called Surprise Baby who won the Group 1 or Group 2 event a couple of weeks ago, who was trained to the minute, and that's who I'm going to have a look at. But the week before, I reckon the greatest weight for age Group 1 in the world, called the Cox Plate.
Oh, Cox. They went down.
Sydney are joking because on their biggest day, the Everest, they might get... There's a humongous crowd here with 32,000. There's a man there eating the pie just adjacent to the Nissan side. And my goodness me, there's Lindsay Fox talking to Eric Farquhar, a member of the great Farquhar. And my goodness me, there's Jack Firkin. And he's here with all the Firkin family. And this is 3RW Racing. And that's fantastic. You know what they haven't got? 110,000 people who have, a lot of people under 30 who have paid a shizen load of money to go there for the races, no, but for the opposite sex, and it's magnificent. And it's like Oaks Day said, Lynn says, let's go to Oaks Day, it's Ladies' Day. And I said, yeah, let's go, knowing full well it's nowhere near. It's a bull's roar away from Ladies' Day. It's Men's Day. It's magnificent.
Rex, just in case people weren't aware, during the 1956 Olympics, when the Queen was out and was up at Lake Wendouree watching the rowing eights, just tell us just what happened there when the rowing eight
was 1956. 1974, when Carey Grammer won their only Head of the River. And there's a joke about the Head of the River, but I can't tell you that. But the commentator on the national broadcaster, one of the Farquhar boys, Eric Farquhar, he said, the headmaster of Carey Grammer is elated as they approach the landing just adjacent to the pine trees, just upstream from the Barwon River bridge that crosses that estuary where the bivalve mollusk are taking sunshine on the low tide. And as I speak, and before I go back to we go back to the studio, the headmaster's wife, Gillian, is just mounting the craft, and she's going to kiss the cocks of the winning eight.
They went to music, I think, and a whole lot of ads.
There was silence, and then some bloke from Sydney said, this is station identification. This is the ABC broadcasting right throughout the southern hemisphere and right into the Samos Islands. And we're actually crossing Pacific Island to the Sunday Islands, where the sunfish have just about had a heart attack.
Have you ever heard of Daddy Cool?
Daddy Cool, Daddy
they see us out for the podcast. This has probably been one of the most extraordinary conversations I've ever had in my life.
Is this going to air anywhere?
And not yet. It'll be in about a minute. It'll be on. So this is our out.